Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Happy Monday. Happy August 1st. We're doing it. I'm sure you guys can guess what we're doing here. We're going to be doing my July wrap up for all the books I read. I had a really good month this month. I read 10 books, which is the most I've read in a month since the beginning of the year. I'm so proud of myself. I honestly cannot even tell you guys how I'm getting through these books so fast. Probably because I'm only reading and really not doing anything else. I do have a full time job, but when I am not at work, that's kind of what I'm doing, which, you know, sometimes adult responsibilities have to be put on hold priorities. So that is what we're doing today. But I thought it would be fun to, I know I mentioned last month I started a reading journal, and like this is just what I did. I just put the month and then a couple statistics that I'll read you, and then my TBR for the month of the books that I wanted to read. And yes, I do color code them, or I tried to color code them based on the cover of the book. So I only ended up reading 3 of these books, which is fine. It's fine. That's more than I thought I was gonna get read, so it's fine. But the 3 books that I put on my TBR for this month, I wanted to read The Inheritance Games, which I did read. I wanted to read Love and Other Words, which I did. And I wanted to read Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo and Archer's Voice, which I did not read either one of those. And the last one I wanted to read was Claim Me by Jay Kenner. I actually started reading that one like 2 months ago, and that's why it was on the TBR. It had to be finished, which I finished that one yesterday. So did it just in time for it to be in my July journal. So the first book that I finished, I'm also not going to go into a lot of details, and I also just wanted to give you guys a disclaimer. I read a lot of books on my Kindle this month. I'm really not sure why that happened. Usually I try to go back and forth between physical books and my Kindle, but this month for some reason I only have 4 physical books. The rest I read on my Kindle. And it mostly was just kind of finishing books that I started and was just kind of like slowly getting into, but like they needed to be finished. So that's kind of what we did. I also stayed and had to dog sit for my parents while they went to visit my brother and sister in law in Texas. And so I only took my Kindle, and I was there for 5 days. So I read 2 books while I was there. So that's kind of what happened too. I only took my Kindle. I didn't take any physical books. But anyway, not that you needed to hear all of that. But so the first book that I finished for the month of July, I actually finished it July 1st. I did not plan it that way. That is just how it ended up happening. I tried to finish it in May so that I could finish 9 books in May. Or, I'm sorry, in June. And it just ended up happening. Actually, I only read 3 books last month, so it would have been my 4th book. And I tried really, really, really hard, but it just didn't make the cut. But anyway, so I finished Her Dark Lies by J.T. Ellison. I gave this book a 2 stars in my reading journal and a 3 star on Goodreads. I really feel like it deserves a 2.5 star. It just wasn't one of my favorites. I really can't tell you why it wasn't one of my favorites. To be honest with you, like the plot of the story is right up my alley, but for some reason I just didn't vibe with it. I don't know what it was. So, a very brief synopsis. This couple, and I think I might have told you guys in my last video, but this couple is engaged. They go to Italy. His family has, I don't want to say it's like a summer house, but they have like another house on this island in Italy. It's very secluded, and they're going there to get married. And then all hell breaks loose. It's just a very unfortunate series of a very a series of very unfortunate events. There we go. I knew I was gonna get it. And so I don't know. I really did think I was gonna like it. I was really sad I didn't like it. The ending kind of got me a little bit, even though you can kind of tell halfway through where this is gonna end up going. Like I kind of predicted the ending a little bit, which makes me upset. I don't like being able to tell how it's gonna end, but that's why I got it 2.5 stars. So there is that. So that was the first book that I finished the first day. And then, and I'm just going back and referencing my reading journal since like I don't have a lot of these books, so it's kind of hard to keep them. I have a very terrible memory, so I have to keep looking back here. Um, so the second and third book that I read, last month I read The Arrangement. By Kirsten Magdalene, which I think I'm still pronouncing that incorrectly. I'm very sorry. But so I read The Amendment and The Atonement, and all three of these books are on Kindle Unlimited, so you can get them for free if you have Kindle Unlimited. I think it's like less than $11 a month to have that, and you get like there's a ton of free books on there. I highly suggest you get it if you go through books very quickly. I highly suggest it. It's definitely worth it. But so anyway, so I finished those two. I gave The Amendment a 3-star. I really didn't like it as much as I liked the first one, and even the last one, to be honest. I felt like it there wasn't enough happening for me to be like completely drawn into it. So it just wasn't my favorite. I think I tried to give it 4 stars, and like that just didn't feel right. So I had to give it 3 stars. But then The Atonement, I gave that one 5 stars because that book was crazy literally from the first page. Like these books, like you cannot predict from the first book to the last book, like you cannot predict anything that is happening. It is so crazy. I have never read books like these before. They definitely are not what I was expecting at all. They're so good. They're suspense, thriller, mystery, like all of it. They're so good. I highly recommend the whole series. They're very short. None of the books are over like 225 pages. They're super short. They're super easy to get through. I highly recommend them. And then the next book I read was The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. And oh my gosh, guys, this book is definitely in my top 5 books this year for sure. It was so good. I could not put it down. Literally, like when I tell you I was skipping meals, I'm not lying, guys. I don't skip meals for no reason. I loved this book so much. I started it on a Friday night and I finished it on a Sunday morning, and then I immediately had to go out and get The Hawthorne Legacy, which is the second book in the series. The third book is coming out at the end of August. They are just so good. So back to The Inheritance Games, and then we'll go into The Hawthorne Legacy. I gave this 6 stars in my rating journal because 6-star books hit differently. You know. Um, it was just so incredible. I just loved it. It kept me so interested. I was never bored throughout this whole book. It was so interesting to me. But I definitely gave it a 5 stars on Goodreads. And just to give you like a little brief synopsis of what this book is about, it's everywhere. So I'm really not going to tell you anything that you can't see on anybody else's channel. The 17-year-old girl, Avery. So Tobias Hawthorne dies. He's an older man. And he dies. He has 2 daughters and 4 grandsons. His one daughter has the 4 sons. And instead of leaving his money and all of his houses and everything, like all of his inheritance to them, he leaves it to Avery. And one of the conditions of his will is that Avery has to live in the Hawthorne house with all the family. Talk about awkward. So it's just them. It's Avery and the 4 brothers, like kind of going through this journey to figure out why he left her everything, because there is no obvious explanation. Like it's just so crazy. So it's just like like them going through solving all these puzzles and riddles and things like that. It is just incredible. It was so good. So that's that. And then after that, I immediately had to go get The Hawthorne Legacy. I gave this one 5 stars. It wasn't as good, in my opinion, as The Inheritance Games, because I feel like in The Inheritance Games, like, it's just kind of like the suspense and like there was a lot happening in that book. And then in this book, I feel like there wasn't as much happening. Like there still are things happening. and it's still a really good book, but I think I just like the first one a lot better. Um, and I'm very interested to see. So the third book, like I said, comes out at the end of August, and I'm very interested to see what that book is going to be about because I feel like they kind of wrapped everything up pretty nicely in this book. So I really don't know what there is left to figure out. So I'm very, very, very interested, and I will be buying it the second it comes out. Anyways, so what was that book? I don't know if I told you I gave this a five. I still gave it a 5 stars. It was still a really good book. I highly recommend this series. Like I said, it's gonna end up being a trilogy. The third book is just not out yet, but you need to go get it ASAP. Actually, I would highly recommend you wait until it comes out in a box set so you get all the hardcovers. I'll leave that there. Um, so then this is where we kind of switched over to my Kindle. So I started reading the Addicted / Calloway Sister series. I started with Addicted to You, and I finished it this month. I think I started it last month or maybe even the month before. And I was just kind of reading it in between books when I didn't know what else to read, when I wasn't really feeling anything else. Or I read on my Kindle in my car at work. So I kind of would just like gravitate towards that and like read a couple chapters on my lunch break and things like that. But I decided I was far enough along into the book that I just needed to finish it. And I gave it 4 stars. I tried really hard to give it 5 stars. But when I gave it 5 stars, it just didn't feel right. So I had to give it 4 stars. I probably would give it a 4.5, but it just wasn't a 5. It just wasn't hitting. And so the I don't really know. I've tried not to get too deep into what these books are about because I really like to go into books blind. But basically, the premise of these books is one, like, Addicted to You is about Lo and Lily's love story. And then the Calloway Sister series, there's 5 books in that series, and 2 of them are about one of the sisters and her love interest. I think it's I don't even know who the sisters ends up with, to be honest with you. I think it's Reich and Daisy, and then the other one is Rose and Connor. I think. Don't quote me on that. Like, I don't even know. I'm trying to go into these as blind as possible, but they have 2 books each, and then their like epilogue book. But the Addicted series is all about Lo and Lily. And so this was just the first book, just like getting your feet wet in it. And it's only from Lily's perspective. I think the first 2 are in Lily's perspective, and then you get dual POV in the third one, which I'm so excited for that. But it was really good. I gave it 4 stars. I liked it a lot. Here's the thing. So it's a fake dating situation, and I honestly like that they didn't drag it out the whole book. Like I don't know if that's ruining anything. I don't know if that's a spoiler. But they didn't drag it out too long, and I was like really impressed with that because like they need to be together. That's all I'm going to say. Toxic or not, like they need to be together. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to leave that there. And we're going to move on to the next book. It was so good. And the reason I kind of hesitated on it was there are 10 books and they do get pretty chunky. So I'm just trying to like pace myself a little bit. Also, there are a lot of books. There are 10 books between the 2 series. So I'm trying to pace myself because I don't want to get burned out on them. Because I feel like I've heard so many good things and I don't want to not appreciate them for like what they are. So I'm just trying to, ease my way into it. But after I finished that, I literally had no idea what I was going to read. I opened up a couple books, read a couple pages. I had no idea. So I started reading Better Than the Movies because it was on Kindle Unlimited. And I actually really enjoyed it. I gave it 5 stars. And it's just kind of cute. It's like a high school fake dating romance situation. And I just loved it so much. It was just like so lighthearted. It was a really good palate cleanser, I feel like. I don't know. There was just something about it. It was just so cute and so sweet. And I just loved it so much. But yeah, that was that. That's really all I have to. I don't want to ruin anything about that. I don't want to tell you too much because, like I said, you need to go into books blind. But and then after I read Better Than the Movies, which, by the way, the one thing I will say about this is, and that is written by, I didn't even tell you, Lynn Painter. I actually can't wait to read more of her stuff. I really liked her writing, but at the beginning of each one of the chapters, there was a quote from a like romance movie. Romance movie? You know what I mean. I think there's a quote from Sweet Home Alabama, chapter 2. I loved it. I was here for it. I loved it so much. Anyway, so then the next book I read after that was Love and Other Words. So this book also in my top 5. This book might even be top 3. Actually, if we're being honest, the Inheritance Games and this made top 3. Hands down, they're right up there with The Nightingale for me, to be honest. I love this book with everything in me. It was so freaking adorable. I just loved it. I ate it up. Like, I just loved it. I read it in 2 days. It was just so good. So good. I'm not even going to tell you what it's about. Don't read the back of the book. Go in blind. Please go in blind. You have to. It's so good. The only thing I will say, it's a second chance romance. This is another one that I gave 6 stars in my reading journal because I can only give 5 on Goodreads, and it deserves way more than that. This book is everything. This book is everything. But that's enough about that. And then the last book I finished, I literally finished it yesterday on the 31st, made it just in time. I finished Claim Me by Jay Kenner. Now these books, it's part of the Stark, I forget what it's called, I think it might just be called the Stark series, to be honest. It's about Damien Stark and Nikki Fairchild, I think is her last name. And they're very spicy romance books. So the first one is called, I don't even remember. It might be Reflect Me. I'm not even sure. And to be honest, I think I gave this book 3 stars. I think the reason I didn't like it as much is because I read this book in July. I finished it yesterday. I've been reading it for 2 months, first of all, but I read the first book back in like November. So I didn't even remember half of the stuff that was happening until like I was 3/4 through the book. I'm like, oh yeah, like that stuff happened. But so I think what happened in the first book was Damien hires Nikki to pose for a nude picture that he hired somebody to paint of her for him to hang it up in his new house. And then obviously they fall in love, and like I said, it's very spicy. It's very, very spicy, which is probably another reason I didn't like it that much. I'm not really into that anymore. But it did kind of like towards the end of this book, it kind of did get it got a little bit better. There were some things that came out and I was like not expecting it. So like towards the end it grabbed my attention. But I don't know. I gave it 3 stars. Maybe I'll read the next one. I literally bought all the books already, so I might as well just keep chugging along with them, but we shall see. But that is all of the books that I read in the month of July. I plan on doing 2 other videos this month, to be honest. So I'm going to do, I know last month I promised I was going to do like my top 5 of the year so far because we were halfway through the year. But then by the time I had time to do it, I was invested in the Inheritance Games. And I didn't want to put it in that video without doing the monthly wrap up. So I am still going to do that. And then the other video, we're going to do my August TBR. I haven't done anything in my reading journal yet. I do have, I think 5 books on my TBR already that I'm planning on reading. We'll see if I actually get to them. Not really sure how that's going to work out. We will see. I am going on vacation, so I don't know how this month is going to be reading-wise because I have to like pack and clean up and everything like that. So we will see. But thank you guys for joining me tonight on this lovely Monday night. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please comment below if you like this video. If you have any suggestions for me on other videos that you want to see, please subscribe to my channel. And for now, that is it. I hope you guys have a great night, an amazing week, and I will see you in the next video.